then we'll get started. So, all right, welcome everybody to our Poets Near and Afar. Thank you very much for joining us. And so tonight we have two poets who are joining us, Dianalee from New Hampshire and Bernard Hicks from close by. So without any further ado, Dianalee.
Okay, I'm going to read quite a mishmash of stuff, different things that I've been working on, all new work, nothing that has been in one of my published books yet. The first poem I'm going to read is Doe and Fawn. Morning dew still glittered on our backyard lawn when a tiny fawn stumbled out of the woods. Following closely, Mother Doe trailed her baby, then stood quietly while the darling nursed. Sipping morning coffee, we dared not breathe or move an inch, lest we startle them from this mesmerizing miracle. Not wanting to be spotted through the sliding glass doors that bring our outdoors in, for 5 minutes we forgot the virus, the protests, the war, the rioting. Instead, we stay focused on mother and child, assuring us of love, life, and beauty still exist in this world. And the second poem is 2 weeks later. The fawn has grown taller and spindly. Legs no longer wobble, but anchor him to the earth, while the doe still guides his footsteps. It's as if she says softly, stay close to me so nothing can come between us. I promise you safety in this world where adverse things can happen. I will guide you until it is time for you to venture out alone, where I pray angels and humans will admire your splendor, allowing you to mature and prosper. I watched them romp back into the woods, hoping for their well-being, as well as the well-being of everyone isolated during this summer of 2020, who cannot securely and healthfully walk along the footsteps of their nearest and dearest until a much hoped for cure is found. I envy the doe and the fawn their freedom and closeness, missing deeply all those I love. My son and his wife and grandson live in Canada. My daughter's in Florida. So we went through a real dry period of not seeing family. That was very painful, but now we're seeing everybody again. So hopefully things are onward and upward. I can't seem to get away from Italy. My last book was Italian lesson with a lot of Italian poems. Now I'm working on a book of little known women and telling their side of the story. And one of those women is Dante's wife. My name is Gemma di Matteo Donati. I am Dante's wife, secured to him at age 9. My turn now to be super chatty. He only had eyes that would never dim for Beatrice, who barely gave him a glance. For her alone, he kept his hair trim. He lived his life in a total trance, writing about her purity and goodness, while never giving me a chance to appear in his poems as the enchantress. No, I was his domestic slave and whore, scrubbing, washing, and cleaning up his mess, while delicate Beatrice did nary a chore. Her name is known both far and wide, so please hear mine, I do implore. Spread my identity on every hillside and share this canto, this tale of mine. Behind Beatrice's skirts, I shall no longer hide. And it's a terzarima, just like Dante wrote the Inferno and the Paradiso and the Purgatorio. So that's his wife saying her piece. Another woman that nobody ever hears of is Sybil Luddington, who rode her horse to warn about the British coming twice as far as Paul Revere. And it's a sonnet, a Shakespearean sonnet. The title is When I Rode Twice as Far as Paul Revere. Maybe my name was not poetic enough for a poet to capture my brave ride. Sybil Luddington can make rhyming rough, but my heroism fills me with pride. I had only reached 16 years of age when my dad, a colonial patriot, needed someone with great courage to warn his soldiers in Danbury was hot and burning by the British. So I rode on my horse, Star, over 40 miles to bang on every soldier's abode, waking them up to battle in a short while. But I have a statue, if not a poem, to honor my wild ride to each soldier's home. We have a toy shop, and I used to go with my grandson all the time, but now he's 14. He doesn't like toys. He likes hockey, 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 hockey. He's Canadian. But I wrote this once when we were in a toy shop with him picking out his next gift from Nona. They weren't always gifts, they were just what we did. The toy shop. Listen to me, all of you. We only have the hours between midnight and 4 a.m. to come alive. And I am tired of all this strife. Life is too short. I am Chatty Cathy, your new president, having taken over when old King Cole resigned due to old age and a touch of dementia. These are my new mandates. From now on, the wooden soldiers will have to take down their red block blockade and stop marching into mayhem against the GI Joes and their blue Lego barricade. This ridiculous fighting over a shelf space must stop. As the purple peacemakers say, we're all part of the same childish, petulant toy world. The Madame Alexander dolls have formed a coalition with the Barbies, and we intend to withhold any contact with the male toys. It worked for Aristophanes in his play Lysistrata, and it will be enforced here until all this warring stops and peace once again settles into the toy shop, when the door is locked up tight and everything is assumed quiet for the night. I wrote this before Ukraine and Russia were at each other's throat. Well, Russia was at Ukraine's throat. Seems some things change in life and some things don't. Love at first sight. I run a poetry group. I sang group for 20 years called the John Hay Poets. And I assign them a prompt once a month, and they come in and they read. And this prompt was, find two characters that you wouldn't think would go together and put them together. So I always write whatever I ask them to write. So this is Love at First Sight. They almost rode past each other in the Texas Badlands, the dust swirling around their galloping, obedient steeds. Coming to an unplanned halt, they circled each other, a perfect yin and yang. The two masked men intrigued by their opposite replications, the Lone Ranger in white on his alabaster horse, and Zorro all in black with his ebony stallion, wondered what lay hidden behind their facades. Only way to tell, they decided, and rode off into the sunrise, in a new time slot, into prime time and into the 21st century. Tonto sold their story, admitting to the paparazzi the Lone Ranger had been alone too long. The couple, now retired, bought and restored an old Victorian house in the city by the bay, took up golf, and hired Tonto as their publicist to keep their names in the tabloids and their icons to become immortal. Tonto and Zorro, not Tonto, the Lone Ranger and Zorro. I couldn't think of a better match that were opposites. This is written as COVID things start to get back to a little bit of normal. My sister and her husband walk among the dead, maskless. Graveyards their new haunt because strolling among the living is now too dangerous, while I sequester myself in my basement, pedaling to nowhere. They stop and send me photos from their cell phone of the gravestones of people I have known, or famous people I never have known. Our new macabre FaceTime ritual, our new bizarre habit. When this horrible virus vanishes, will they still walk in cemeteries, no longer comfortable among the living? And will I stay sequestered in my house, comfortable now with only my own thoughts, words, and deeds? We are all changing during this viral tempest, and no one knows how we will emerge when the enter sign goes back on to lead a normal life. I'm happy and lucky to live in the woods. The deer we saw nursing her baby, but the biggest surprise was see a moose come right down our backyard. I was having my coffee and he just ran right out of the woods, across our yard and down to the street, probably heading towards the lake for a cool dip. But it was the last thing I expected to see. We've got bear, fox, lots of deer, but that was the first time we saw a moose on our property. At first glance, I thought a neighbor's horse had gotten loose, jumped the fence again for a free romp. But in a second, it became apparent the creature trespassing our yard was a huge moose, moving with the speed of a thoroughbred. Quickly awakened from my first sip of coffee, I managed to mumble moose so that my husband didn't miss this early morning spectacle. The huge animal careened back into the woods after heading downhill, to perhaps to go for a dip in the lake, to escape his debilitating heat, I can't say heat wave in the lake. Or maybe, like we humans, he was just weary of the summer's isolation and looking for companionship, tired of roaming alone, searching for a kindred species with whom to bond, unconscious of this momentary connection with two ecstatic human beings. And I'm going to read a few from Italian lesson. Now am I on time? Saint Faustus. My book Italian lesson has poems from when I taught in Italy. I taught poetry in Italy, and when I visited my cousin in Sicily. So I had so many poems, I decided there was plenty of poems for a book. Saint Faustus. Elegant and round, La Chiesa di San Giorgio in Canaro Riviera reverberated with the sound of ancient organ music, sweeping me further into the sacristy than my initial peek through the front door. Mesmerized by ageless music, I noticed parishioners walking reverently up steps near the far right corner beside the altar. Curiosity, despite my husband's restraint, lured me up and into a small dark room. There, elevated in a glass coffin for the faithful to adore, lay Saint Faustus, or the relics of once was Saint Faustus, displayed like Sleeping Beauty in his full priestly regalia. Needing a closer look, I climbed one of two rickety wooden staircases leading up to either end of the coffin. Saint Faustus, resembling the Pillsbury Doughboy, having lain there peacefully for centuries, was suddenly disturbed as I lost my balance and grabbed the coffin. A miracle. The coffin merely shifted. Faustus only teetered. My husband tottered, racing right out of the church, and I fell to my knees as if giving thanks for not fainting because Saint Faustus had not faltered. I was lucky, lucky. The stairs were rickety. The coffin was not nailed securely. That could have been an international incident, at least within the church. And this book is dedicated to my cousins in Santa Croce di Camarina, Sicilia. Italian lesson, the lead poem. My Italian needs lots of help. The spongy coral-like object on my plate does not appear edible or anything like what I imagined the seasonal fish stew I thought I had ordered would look like. Poking at the glob with my fork, it wiggles as my knife struggles with the first cut. Proceeding with serious caution, the smallest possible piece makes its way to my suspecting palate. I have chewed softer gum. My mind starts screaming, don't swallow, and perspiration stains my silk blouse until, with childlike deception, I lift my napkin to my lips, pat them delicately, and spit out the masticated mess. Inhaling a gulp of my wine, then air, I smile at the Sicilian waiter and then my date and ask in perfect Italian, "Che cosa è busseca?" He answers in perfect English. One must develop a taste for Italy, signora, especially a taste for tripe. Not one of my favorite meals. So I'm heading to teach. We flew flying to Rome. I'm heading to teach in the wine country. And we hear a funny beep in the rental car. And it's beeping and it's beeping, and we don't know what it is. We pull over, we think we something's wrong, but nothing is showing on the board that it's wrong. So finally, the car starts sounding funny, and we had a flat tire. Just picked the car up from the airport, the rental. Pull over to the side of the road while massive tractor trailers are going 1,000 miles an hour past us. I'm on a little tiny edge. And I said, let me try a 911. Sure enough, 911 worked in Italy. And as soon as I opened my mouth trying to speak in Italian, he said, Siciliana. So obviously I learned from my cousins to speak Italian with a Sicilian accent. Emergency welcome. And this is also a terzarima in Dante style. Flat tire on the autostrada, a half hour from Rome's airport. Our tiny Fiat trembles as an armada of semis breaks speed barriers short centimeters away from our disabled car. Grazie a Dio, 911 works in Italy. Support emergency vehicle deposits a movie star quality assistant who changes a tire while blockading us with stellar flares. I try not to lustily admire his strong arms and tight butt. When he refuses payment, desire takes over as a gleeful gamut of emotions cause me to fling my arms around him and shut my eyes and give him a kiss. Smiling in the aftermath, he kisses me back twice, then 3 times, welcoming me to Italy while he forgot his jack. My first experience on the autostrada. Oh, to the ravioli I left behind. My husband, I don't know if you can see this when I show it. My husband took the pictures. That's the ravioli. I'm famous for boxing up food and then forgetting it, leaving it on the table. Oh, to the ravioli I left behind. True to my fickle brain, I left you behind in the styrofoam to-go box, destined you to the restaurant's trash bin, instead of providing me with 2 sumptuous lunches. You were perfection, aglow in olive oil, your little patty cakes of dough infused with emerald spinach and filled with fluffy ricotta. Sauteed peppers, broccoli, and mushrooms crowned your glory. Oh, to leave such perfection behind. Forgive me, please, and add this error to the temple of my transgressions. Unless, of course, I pray, our Italian waitress took you home to relish after her long shift, sitting in bed with her American boyfriend, seductively feeding each other tiny morsels of the stolen indulgence. This would grant me forgiveness and atonement. This would clean my plate. Italy's all about food and coffee. Italy's got the best coffee in the world, and they love it as much as I love it. So this is a take on Dante's Paradiso, Purgatorio, and Inferno in the world of coffee. And it's otavarima, another Italian form. And it starts with epigraph. I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. T.S. Eliot, the love song of Alfred J. Prufrock. J. Alfred Prufrock. Number 1, Paradiso. Coffee paradise encompasses all of Italy. The aroma of cafe, rich dark espresso with perfectly pressed froth on top, is not sipped, but chugged from shot glasses while standing at a bar. Divine words are not sufficient to describe this pleasure unless you are ordering a doppio or a double. Then, beatific and miraculous reign appropriately. 2, Purgatorio. The Madonna must have invented the macchiato, the not so pure espresso with dollop of foam milk sitting atop like a halo, or the cappuccino, more mellow than the macchiato by the addition of sea milk. These drinks, as smooth and gossamer as angel's wing, beg forgiveness from a true coffee connoisseur. Inferno. If you were to commit all the deadly sins of a coffee addict, sip the decadent Borgia. The richness of lust and intrigue, fitting for the family for which it is named, will tickle your sinful sensibilities. Wicked whipped cream tops a mixture of espresso and hot chocolate, sprinkled with cinnamon and slivers of orange peel. Go to hell with the Borgias. Enjoy yourself. This is a very short poem about wine. Coffee and wine are very big in Italy, as is food. These purple grapes from Barolo, harvested soon after the first frost, are kissed by the chiaroscuro of October's creamy fog. Lost in the vapor, a milky kimono veils each orb. These ghost grapes give us nebula wine. Sip and believe in the divine. The nebula wine that we had was, the grapes were grown on the side of Mount Etna in very black soil. So the nebula is a very, very dark, black, almost blackish red wine. That is one of my favorites in the world. Now, I could find it here in some of the wine stores. And I think that'll end that. I'll read one more short one. Lake Blue turns green. Lake Blues turn green. The group of students we had a lot of outdoor time writing poetry. And we were in the center of town. We had taken the ferry over to Switzerland. We're at the center of a town when this blue Lamborghini pulls into the center of town. And the man's short, and every eye was on this Lamborghini, like the tourists, locals, everybody was looking at him. Lamborghini, metallic blue, like the lake, exuding luxury, cruises on cobblestones. His hair, long white as alpine snow, glimmers in Italian sun. Envy, green as lemon trees, leaves, descends up on our table like a tart dessert. He just had it all going for him. So I think that's fine.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Absolutely wonderful, as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we're going to go on to have Bernard read first. But again, if you do not want to be in the open mic, please throw that in the chat. And so without any further ado, from Near, the Near part of our Near and Afar, Bernard Hicks.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for having me. Tony, thank you for inviting me, as I'm always humbled to be in your presence. Thank you very much. Okay, this first poem is so fitting because I joined a Facebook group yesterday and I got so much warm welcome. I received so much poet hospitality. It's very familiar to Southern hospitality, but a little bit warmer. So I really appreciate everyone who welcomed me on board yesterday. Much appreciated. Fittingly, this is a poem dedicated to poets of our society who write what they see what they write, and write what they believe. Poets, society. Do words give life to a poet, or do poets give life to words? Do we live in a world of linguistic freedom, or are we prisoners to nouns, adjectives, and verbs? Sometimes we lay in quiet darkness, waiting for a lyrical light bulb to turn on, trying to get our stanzas just right. A true poet can do no wrong. Thoughts coming like bolts of lightning, then quickly disappearing into a fog, reappearing like the sun after a storm, and hovering around like the mist in the early morn. We scream through the pen, yelling as we scribble on a pad, breathing heavy as we come to our senses, often questioning what made us so mad. Pensive is the principle of poets' prosperity. Organizing words and phrases are our wealth. Overindulging in metaphors and similes, trying to convince others what we want them to believe. As we get together in solidarity groups and share stories to those willing to hear, as we perpetually seek out those with the true listening ear. Sometimes the sensitive will shed a tear, and those with a sense of humor will share a laugh, and those who love to reminisce will share stories of their past. We receive awards and salute our fellow laureates, writing books and anthologies so we never forget, chronicling a life of triumphs and tribulations, chronicling a life of our genesis that leads to our revelations. As we gather around a poet campfire and listen to words crackle like burning wood, giving comfort and support to each other, trying our best to do the world a bit of good. As we gaze at the world's landscape, dichotomy of images from a rainforest to an inner city, describing the flow of beaches to seas and concrete to streets, as we strive to thrive in a poet's society. Thank you. My next poem, I've had time to. I've had time to watch Madam C.J. Walker work magic to Black women's hair, living in the true hustler spirit and become America's first woman self-made millionaire. I've had time to watch Sugar Ray Leonard looked like a young Muhammad Ali, watching Mike Tyson hit like George Foreman, making fighters pray on their knees. I've had time to listen to Minnie Riperton take me back down memory lane, singing notes that last forever, like a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I've had time to watch Michael Jordan float effortlessly in the air as if stepping on the notes of a Miles Davis tune, staying suspended in the air like the smoke in a cigar-filled room. I've had time to watch Carl Lewis take off like the road runner in a Saturday morning cartoon, running at the speed of light. Could have sworn I seen him standing on the moon. I've had time to listen to Stephanie Mills sing her song Home, always feeling like she sang it to me first. I think God was listening to her sing while he was creating the heavens and the earth. I've had time to watch Paul Robeson sing. I've had time to watch Jackie Robinson swing. I've had time to watch Dorothy Dandridge move and watch Lena Horne do her thing. I've had time to listen to Melly Merrill lyrically paint the picture of every ghetto USA. I've had time to get ready to listen to politicians speak, knowing I wouldn't believe a word they had to say. I've had time to listen to my own thoughts as they're speaking to me in an Ozzie Davis voice, letting me know there is always a fork in the road, reminding me to pause to make the best choice. I've had time to listen to Martin Luther King speak, resonating like thunder, shaking the concrete, bringing joy, pride, and strength to my soul, all the while realizing he would never live to be old. Memories of my sister and brother up in heaven playing spades with one another, knowing he's making sure she's okay, just like a big brother. Whenever you get a second, ask yourself this question. Have you ever been changed when history and time teaches us a lesson? Remember, something as beautiful as a rose has thorns. Something as powerful as money has wrongs. When slavery was going on, they sang songs. Something as troubling as life we wish long. Watching time on my side, watching time pass me by, watching the methodical movements of the hands of time, watching time tell me it's my time to shine. Thank you. My next poem, Lives of Contrasting Education. From Harlem to Howard, an education from both is empowered. From the numerous books with sheets to the streets, teaching life lessons for keeps. Lessons given from teachers and moderators. Life being taught on milk crates in front of bodegas. Notes being taken on notepads and iPads. Scholars from the streets are those wearing toe tags. Studying till late at night leads to great test results. Same hours on the corner receive dirty looks and tight cuffs. 3 hours to go before the start of class. 3 friends lost their lives to the streets way too fast. Wistful parents hoping to get grant money from Pell. Saddened parents setting up GoFundMe accounts for bail. Receiving either one is a big relief. Sending one kid back to college, the other kid back to the streets. Proudly strutting down hallways with hardwood floors. Mindlessly walking down tenement hallways with graffiti walls. Walking with books worth about 50 grand. Walking past closed libraries as if vacant land. Studying subjects that's going to put you in a nice high rise. Studying cars as they slowly drive by so you don't get caught up in the next drive-by. Going on interviews to start your career. Going to the parole board hoping it's your year. Getting the phone call saying the job for you is here. walking out the gates, breathing in freedom and shedding a tear. Graduation day and students count their blessings. Acquittal at trial and life has delivered another lesson. Switch your tassels and throw your caps in the air. Walk out the courtroom, return to the hood and hope somebody cares. Contrast in education. Thank you. My next poem, America the Beautiful. Broadway and 147th is where my story begins. New York streets full of temptations. Heaven, forgive us for our sins. I bask in the sun, lying on a Harlem street, as I listen to the sound of sirens and the familiar percussion of hip hop beats. As I soothe my skin on a hardened wall, relaxing on the comfort of my concrete towel, the flushness of feeling at home, speaking I will speak, intentionally mispronouncing vowels. I'm a brolic scholar, a hood educated thespian, a truth the power poet, a New York apostle, a Harlem disciple. Getting up early, waiting for street news makes you nervous. Decisions to be made at 18, dedication to the hood, books, or military service. Military recruiters giving you your dreams. Give up the streets and join the military team. Here you can learn to be all you can be and give up the life of balancing triple beams. Step right up for helmets and boots. Raise your right hand and practice your salute. Remember the words and pledge a new allegiance and give a new oath to the regimented troops. Military stripes, stars, and bars leads to bigger checks and higher prestige. Wearing stripes from life behind bars, snagged in a world designed to deceive. US soldiers dodging bullets in Afghanistan. Street soldiers dodging bullets on the corner of Amsterdam. Shoot guns for Uncle Sam, labeled come home to hugs. Protect yourself on the block, Uncle Sam labels you a thug. Spending years and years of operational training, commands being given, never explaining. Careful what you do and say could lead to treason. Questioning gentrification, still waiting for a reason. When you can't cry for yourself, I'll shed my tears for you. When you're too tired to move, I'll walk your mile in my shoes. Blindly rolling the dice, hoping for a brighter future. Desperation deepening our sorrows. Struggles for those living for today. The rest praying for tomorrow. America the Beautiful. Thank you. Humanity. The nature of our humanity, dictating how humanely we treat nature. Nature dictating human existence. Mankind speeding towards human extinction. Was it God's plan to leave Earth in man's hand? Knowing at the end of it all, it will all return to sand. The blessed Mother Earth bestowed upon us all, giving us beautiful seasons of winter, summer, spring, and fall. Free air to breathe, cleansed freely by trees. Definitely got me thinking, this is too good to believe. Metaphorically speaking, is your glass of life half full or half empty? Have you secured the proverbial pot of gold? Or do you see hues of gray when looking at rainbows? The outer color of our skin doesn't determine the integrity that lies within, as our quality of life isn't always determined by the battles we lose and win. I want to go back in time and speak with Martin Luther King and learn more of what inspired him to brazenly have a dream, experience his physical, spiritual, and emotional pain, still praying his life wasn't given in vain. We will all merrily wear a crown of jewels. Will we be willing to wear a crown of thorns? Sacrifice longevity for the betterment of the world? Live a shorter life and have your name sung in songs? Are we really one nation under God? If so, Would life for some really be that hard? Some having a clear path to walk in with no haze, while others begin life crawling through a maze. Welcome to the divided states of America. Yep, that's what history teaches us. One side benefiting from continuous exploitation, the other perpetually seeking justice. I'm watching our nation's healthcare put people's health in desperate despair, hiding truth in plain sight as pharmaceuticals become the giver of life. Corporate companies changing their names as they try to avoid lawsuits and public shame. The shame of it all is they have no shame as they continue to play and exceed at the Wall Street game. The struggles of life, hell-bent, I fought, studying biblical chapters, Genesis to Exodus, the creation to Revelations, from the birth to the cross. My birthday, my death day, my best day, my worst day, the wanting of relevancy, solemnly on one knee, praying for longevity. My faith, my luck, my belief, my trust, my thrills, my lust, my bones to ashes, my spirit to dust. Thank you. Thank you very much. Clarity. Clarity, the quality of transparency, translucence, and clearness. All emotions set aside, seeing life for what it is, third eye being your guide. The fabric of our soul is interwoven with love and passion, knitted with anger and violence, acts of misdeeds intertwined with acts of kindness. The crystal ball of life, very cloudy when you're young. Clarification as the years go by, crystal clear by the end of your time. Trying to reach through the mirror to correct the flaws, the deep emotional scars starting to appear even more. As the years go by, the more doors we hear behind us close. Sitting at the poker table of life, more and more hands we have to fold. As we yearn to catch yesteryear, blowing in the wind, trying to determine when did the old leave and when did the new begin. If you knew at 20 what you know at 29, would you do everything you could to avoid any jail time? If you knew at 40 what you know at 50, would you take better care of yourself, put stock in your nutrition that will pay dividends and health? If you knew at 50 what you know past 60, would you want more peace and love and even more tranquility and serenity? Being granted 3 wishes, what would it be? Would it be to see someone you weren't able to see? Would it be to be somewhere you weren't able to be? Would it be to keep something you weren't able to keep? I want to go back in time, and we all know time is priceless, to help all those who weren't treated with kindness. I want to go back and rescue all the animals who were needlessly slaughtered, resurrect mothers and fathers who never had the chance to spend precious time with their sons and daughters. How many generations does it take to learn from past generations and their mistakes? Important thoughts told around the table, legacies passed around like food on a tray. The survival of our history, stories passed down so we never grow old. Listening intently to my elders who speak to me, waiting for a warm night as the days grow cold. Clarity. Thank you. It's my last poem before the break. Title of this poem, The Protest. I wrote this poem with a heart that's heavy with grief, questions, and a quest to see change. The protest, 2020. Protest, as they say, is the voiceless speaking and shouting out, marching for better results, demanding change come about. In our communities, we are allowed to loot, allowed to shoot. As long as it's against each other, they won't send out the troops. Our mothers of the past watched while her sons were hanged. Our mothers of today watch while her sons are introduced into gangs. We need all the old OGs to let the young people see that killing ourselves over colors is not what our ancestors wanted to see. Racism, sexism, and police brutality, we loudly cry out. Equality for one and all, and a demand of justice, we clearly shout. I introduce a new ism to our lexicon, childism, which is children lost in our midst. Men having children by acting as if they don't even exist. Our kids have a right to protest against fathers who don't seem to care. They have a right to be angry and raise their fists in the air. Freedom, justice, and equality usually starts at home, not in the streets where some kids are forced to roam. Broke or rich, our kids deserve the gift of our history being passed down, so they understand our history makes us rich. Each one teach one, each one help one. My daughters are your daughters, your sons are my sons. True unity will start when communities realize, even though the street lights are on, we're still in the dark. Our communities were always allowed to be burned to the ground, while everyone screamed fire. Inside the White House, they never heard a sound. As some politicians giggled from afar, like chirping birds perched in a tree, hoping we never find a way to their nest, as they look for more ways to extend their greed. I'm going to end on this note, on us all saying this oath. I will give love and leadership, and I will get out and vote. The protest 2020. Thank you.
Woo! What a wonderful reading. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you.
All right, unmute yourselves, everybody. Give Dianalee and Bernard a great round of applause.
Lovely. Woo!
Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, let me stop it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is do our open mic. So I will call on you, and then I will call on the person that's on deck, and then we'll go from there. So we're going to start with Amber is up, and Ann Cohn, you're on deck. And sorry that you have to follow that. Amber? Just have to unmute yourself. There you go. Ann
Hi.
Cohn,
Okay.
Ann, you're on deck.
Okay. So the hunter forgets our anniversary. Again, spring has us leaving yet another homestead. Again, our emptied boxes to fill. We fight to keep above the snowbanks and ourselves from sinking in the mud. Meanwhile, wildlife yawns and emerges from the woods, while insects crawl from the beams and floorboards of the house. Each claim a mate and move forward to the building of nests, burrows, or the making of webs, all for shelter and offspring. Remember our first forest walks in the snow melting March, your left hand in my right, and our steps a struggle in the slush. Words came as kisses then, and in how our eyes read each other's thoughts. Your pinewood walls dressed in skins, skulls, bones, antlers, birds' talons, and feathers. You relaxed once I said it resembled my collections, preserved beauties. Our difference is that for every life you take, I save 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amber. All right, Anne, you're up, and Carol, you're on deck. Carol Finkel, you're on deck.
All right. Wow, terrific reading, both of you this evening. I just love the visuals and the music and the whole presentation. This is an old travel poem. Postcard from Newport. A pedicab posse careens around corners, clatters down cobblestone streets. Jocular jocks jostle for position on city sidewalks. Ribald riposts ricochet like rockets, ogling opulence at majestic gilded age mansions. Oldest synagogue reveals history of religious tolerance. Serene sailboats hug the harbor. Confident tourists climb the precarious cliff walk, remarking on remnants of Hurricane Sandy. Moonrise kites compete with cackling crows and garrulous gulls. Biker lovingly photographs a Yamaha against Shore Road sunset. Daffodils dancing languidly on college campus lawns.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, Carol, you're up, and T.A. Niles, you're on deck. Carol? Okay, TA, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Carol, but I guess we can hear you later.
Oh, I didn't know you called me. Sorry.
Okay, can we let Carol go then?
No,
Yeah.
no, I stopped.
Okay,
Yeah, no, that's Daryl. Not Daryl.
okay.
Carol Finkel, going once, going twice. Okay, TA, you're up, and Sherry Lynn, you're on deck.
Okay, thanks for sharing your work with us, dear featured ones. I'm doing my first 30-30 challenge, and this was a prompt. We were supposed to do a poem about the body, and this came from that. It's called Mirror Hugs. I'd like to reach into the mirror and give that guy a hug. I wonder if he knows that the geometry of the image staring back at me is all wrong, with novel angles jutting, curves now predominating, softness encroaching upon hardened memories of youthful vigor. He'd sworn to himself that he'd never be a skinny guy with gut protruding. Another promise to himself broken. He stares back at me, his eyelids as heavy as his heart. They droop and fold almost as neatly as yesterday's laundry. The fire and twinkle they once guarded are dimmed and shaded, their heat and light mere embers now. He raises his hands and lifts the lazy lids with fingers that quiver more than he remembers. He is shaken by the realization. The once steely jaw is now usurped by jowl in a bloodless coup devised by a coalition of gravity and decades. If his chin was once bold, it now peeks timidly through spindly branches, white and wild, that have wrestled dark splendor to the ground. He no longer anticipates getting carted at the checkout line. Moles and freckles have spawned like rabbits. Mountain cheekbones have succumbed to valleys. The smile that once puffed out its chest and gleamed with brilliant confidence now cowers behind discolored, reluctant lips that battle to hold their lines. Is that a wince he throws my way as our gazes meet in bald contemplation, in silent consolation? I think he'd like to reach out of the mirror and give me a hug. She walks up behind me and says, "You're as handsome as ever." I turn and give her a hug. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, TA. Appreciate that. Sherry Lynn, you're up, and Valerie, you're on deck.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you. This is such a blessing to hear your hearts through your poetic art shared with us tonight. So touched by your poetry. V-Day, February 2001. Quote, each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women, unquote, Maya Angelou. I arrived alone. My seat was in the front corner of my section with a clear view of one magnificent woman after the other, gracing the stage, sharing vulnerable feats of courage amidst vagina monologue performances. Was it Oprah or Jane Fonda or Gloria Steinem, or who is the audience? When a question resonates with a violent act you experience anytime in your life, please stand. Please remain standing through all questions. The first question did not apply, and I sent heart whispers to all who stood there. The second question set siren screams in my ears. Stand! Breathing stopped as I pushed on my armrests, stood holding decades of jailed pain. I realized I was the only one standing in my entire section. No other section looked like mine. Their near eyes on me caused a fainting blush, body trembles, sight fell to black. From where it came, this fortitude will, it did not let me fall or fail or sit. Quiet tears dripped on my hands, gripping the railing in front of me. Sight evolved to a blur, to a keen gaze at the teenage girl on stage with a net over her eyes beneath a bodied burqa who shared her harrowing escape from the Taliban. I must stand. Upon my return home, holding a red ribbon the garden of people were given, asked to rap on trees, with vibrating arms and hands, I tied myself to people like me, standing together to end violence against girls and women. 16 years later, me too. Our next waterfall. I am standing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Valerie, you're up. Karen Scott, you're on deck.
Okay. Thank you, featured readers and everybody. Another wonderful night. This poem is called Linguistics. In the red, out of the blue, green-eyed monster, black-eyed peas, rose-colored glasses, don't throw stones. Fool's gold, all that glisters. In the dark, a yellow streak, purple state, white-knuckled, blue in the face, red pill blacklist. Greased lightning, brown-eyed girl, Miss Scarlet, pretty in pink, crystal clear shades of gray, quacks are back. Don't believe anything you hear. Half of what you see behind the curtain in front of your eyes. It can happen to you, any accusation, guilty until proven to be. On the right team, follow the money.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you. Great job. Karen Scott, you're up. Marvin, you're on deck.
This one is called Tap Dance. I hope that I will never be as frantic as my pets seem to me, watching how tall Elias the cat stretches and how urgently his paw seeks to sop up vanilla ice cream drips on a TV tray. May I affect a guise of insouciance and never telegraph my desires so transparently, just begging to be mocked by cruel fate. not like the dance performed by Trooper the dog, worrying as I take each bite of a sandwich, his stamping feet, tilted head, little whines and yips as the morsel dwindles, all culminate in a mad dash into his crate in hopes I will reward him for obedience to a command I never gave. Thank you.
I love that one. We're watching my daughter's dog for the next couple of weeks. She's in Paris right now, and yeah, that hits it right on the head. That's great. Too funny. All right, Marvin, you're up. Christine, you're on deck. Marvin, you have to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, the poem is called The Library. It's the second poem I ever wrote. Maybe it should have been the last. It's rather dark. Not every poem has to be glorious or glamorous in subject. So this is the second poem. It's called Library. Did you hear that, Tony? Library.
I heard you.
Okay. See her there, some flesh and rags, clutching the life of Prince mustache and red of dress, the fleur-de-lis, chandelier, tapestry, music starts, the ball begins, and red of dress and her sweet prince are, oh, so charming, oh, just perfect, so, you're snoring. Please, no noise in here. He with water eyes and water nose, mouthing every period, fingering every comma, is cutting wood again, and snow reaching everywhere. And then the guns outdo the axe, and smell of horses is the smell, and of men too. How grand it is. I'm coming, we'll show them damn Prussians. But first there's time, the crumpled paper, the tired cookies, and crumbs on snow reaching everywhere. She who's found the truth. See, that was a smile. See that look to left to right. All those fools, they think they know, but they have not found it. She knows. She must keep it, must get it down on paper. The soul is what is beauty. True beauty rests within. She picks at ancient acne in the puffy face. He, the flanneled one, the one who's been spitting blood, but he's not reading that green book. It's only there to hide the bottle and the blood. Who does he think he is? Little children coming here. What's this city coming to? Snoring crumbs, acne bottles, blood. What's this city Sorry, sir. The library is closing now.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you. All right, Christine, you're up, and Adarenian, you're up next.
Okay. No coincidence for my husband. I transferred from the 6 train at Chambers Street Station to the J. Off hours, got a seat, eyes closed tight, trying to catch a few Z's when a voice travels above the train's odors of scallions, bok choy, and garlic, picked up at the Canal Street Station, which flowed from small orange bags, bought at Chinatown's vegetable shops, when a familiar tenor hovers in the air above everyone else's. You would recognize his tone if it was telegraphed from Mars. Your eyes bolt open from the sense memory of his intense sound, and halfway down the car, you see him animatedly talking with a friend. You laugh out loud, remembering the relationship you shared in another lifetime, realizing now there is no coincidence. He left work early. Your doctor's appointment ended early. You both arrived at the same time on the same train in the same car. He heard laughter and looked in your direction. And there you both were, remembering a friendship that had never been broken, only misplaced.
Love that line. Great line. Thank you. Veteran, you're up, and JR, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. Great readings. Christine, was that a J train?
Yes,
Yes.
you know that well.
Yes. Sounds familiar. Right. This is called Duty Calls. The weight of the ball, the heaviness of the chain makes it so difficult to get out of bed. The pillows gently hold my neck and head and sing sweet lullabies in my listening ears. The mattress, the hypnotist, keeps me in place. The curtains and blinds stuck to the wall keep dawn out by hiding the light and say I have the choice to never move at all. The promise of a stress-free, nothing-to-do day might be an illusion just the same. Because the human demands creates guilt in me, I roll out of bed to tackle the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Judy, you're up. Linda, you're on deck.
Thank you, Dianalee. Thank you, Bernard. Oh, thank you, Open. Wow. And thank you, Oceanside and Tony. So this is a Maim and Torture Lent poem. Bliss. Mr. Goodbar and Mrs. Fields' Pepperidge Farm is the sweetest place on earth. Mornings of mountain dew and sunny delight. Their garden of Eden has no sour patch, no skinny cow on their farm. They plant razzles, skittles, Twizzlers. A pocket full of Lucky Charms dot their acres. They've got orchards of juicy fruit, and brookside a chocolate river runs with rainbow trout and goldfish, Swedish fish, and Chips Ahoy. In a black forest candy coated with Keebler baking, trees grow Hershey bars and jars of Snapple. 100-gram ingots flourish in a symphony of Snickers and chuckles and bare naked happiness. At night, the Jolly Ranchers settle back on a Tootsie Roll beneath a Nestle backdrop and watch atomic fireballs fly across the sky, witness starburst trails in stride across the Milky Way, a Mars eclipse, fluff and ruffles, all worries twixt payday and kisses. A dove family circles overhead, brings Mr. Goodbar and Mrs. Fields' happy bit of honey, farm, mounds of peace, laughter, and love. With sweetness,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Linda, you're up, and Margaret, you're up next. You're on deck.
Thank you, and thank you for all the voices that are represented here. So wonderful to be a part of this. This is called Cristo Redentor, for the statue on a hilltop in Rio, and for Ma. The first time I saw you, I knew my third grade self locked in your arms, stretched out over the city, buildings of purest white in the shadow of you, the cross. I heard strains of the bossa nova, kitchen danced the girl from Ipanema, sang Más que Nada with that lover of international rhythms, Ma. Nestled in her arms, seeing a side of her that so few ever really knew. Her teaching, her living. She took me to Rio on the wind of the pan flute, the strings of Antonio Carlos Jobim. I landed on your feet of soapstone, mosaic, strong feet that I could stand on and learn a whole new dance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Margaret, you're up. Taku, you're on deck.
Okay, thanks to our features tonight and everyone that's so far read in the open mic. This title of this poem is End Credits, for one of my classmates, Francis Maiorino. End credits. When I saw the letters of your name, remember 9th grade health class, brought extra pens just to loan you one. You never came prepared. When I saw the letters of your name, I returned back to 1989, square danced in gym class. Your decision to moon the video camera landed you in high school suspension. Our gym teacher was not amused. I was. When I saw the letters of your name, it reminded me of social studies class. You with the cold acting scenes from The Godfather, claiming you were Don Corleone, made me laugh, and it still does. When I saw the letters of your name in the end credits of Boardwalk Empire, I gasped, smiled, proud to have known you way back when. When I saw the letters of your name on Facebook, it announced your passing and arrangements for your funeral. Gasped in disbelief still, I remember your influences on my life. Love for mob movies, Italians, Brooklyn. I write a pen pal in Italy 30 years, all because of you. Each influence with your memory I cling to, like every letter in your name. Know there will never be another on this earth, unique and meaningful as you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, Taku, you're up, and Ro, you're on deck.
This is first time to write poetry during the Lent. So my poem for the day is entitled Two Invisible Kingdoms. Enjoy. This world is so interesting. Some of us don't know what depression is because we were given Christianity as a medicine against depression before we were even depressed. Right now, Christianity is also our way of life and culture. Before you even receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and personal Savior, as if we always live in Christ and we have grown even the audacity to sin inside Him, as if this world is being inspired and motivated to become a sinful world according to pessimists. And of course, being inspired and motivated to become a sin-free world according to optimists. I think it continues to be in the war between man and God ever since that fruit was eaten. These must be the two invisible kingdoms operating us all in between. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. And Taku will be featuring for us in the future weeks. Ro, you're up, and Sasha, you're on deck.
Oh, thank you, Tony, and thank you, everyone. I wrote this July 25th, 2021. It's called Magic. Magic happens only at the magical hour when all is still, all is well. Rains pitter-patter, a random vehicle in neighbor's driveway, dissonance. Dawn lands on tight shut eyes, closed for meditation. Even at daybreak, darkness is preferred. Light, the owner of that hour of undisturbed tabula rasa, marked by magic, is still jarring. Magic of light happens only in darkness. Magical hour only at dawn. Thank you.
Thank you, Ro. I don't think Sasha is still with us, so Emiliano, if you'll step up to the mic. And Ben, you're on deck. Okay, Emiliano, you're up.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good.
I'm here. I'm sorry.
No problem.
All right. The name of the poem I'm going to read is called Pollution. It was written last week And it was written after one full month of the war in the Ukraine, March 2022. The field depots are up in flames. Burning cars and incinerated buildings keep occurring every day. Oil spills and gasoline consumption appear with no interruption. Either fallen bombs or missiles lay down heavily daily. Smoke in the air and refugees run for cover under fear, mourning, leaving behind the dead bodies of some brave innocent lives. Waves of warplanes keep on flying, yet refueling round the clock, continuing their daily mission after a full savage month. The genocide on mankind, society, and the environment seems to be narrated quietly by Miss Climate Change. It seems like the Swedish Greta Thunberg and her followers remain happily hidden from the pollution of war. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. All right, Ben, you're up. Daryl, you're on deck.
Thank you. Wonderful poems tonight. Thank you. It's my first time joining, so really appreciate it. I think I'll read something animal related. This is called The Magnificent Frigate. The male frigate is the most advanced independent flying creature of our world, for he possesses the greatest wing surface to body ratio of any bird. He can soar for hours high above the sea without a single flap of wings. He can eat, drink, preen, and even sleep while flying. He wears a bold-faced M across his chest to signify magnificent. His gleaming wings and body form a great black cape. He cannot fish below the surface, for he may not wet his wings, and in order to survive, has turned to piracy. In February, a sack of tissue by his throat turns pinkish red like scrotum skin. He then inflates the sack into a big, bright red balloon. All this he does while perching in the lowlands to appeal to females overhead, like the teens in Levittown who stand beside the open hoods of cars, attracting high-haired girls.
Okay, thank you very, very much. All right. I think everybody else is ready except Daryl. I think I'm good. Everybody else that wants to read. All right, Daryl, bring us home.
Sorry, I was late. Thank you, Bernard, and the I forgot the other reader. Thank you. I'm sorry I was late. I'm having trouble with my thing. But Bernard, thank you so much. We work together, so I wanted to share this part of this poem. I'm not done with it because I know that we work with the students, so we have a very similar background. So many of the poems that you wrote I can relate to. But anyway, I wanted to share one I was just working on. Wards of the state. We are property now, transferred and transfixed on the comes and goings and emptiness, little cells for little lost souls. If little else fails, our lawyer will call. We are children, but adults in our crimes. Wards of the state, wards of our crimes. But what would we have done it at all if our lives were not crimes? We go to sleep here, eat here, fight here, fear here, support each other here, thwart against each other, manipulate, plot, sometimes escape, sometimes not.
Okay.
That's all I did so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Thank you all for coming out here tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks when Taku and Karen Scott will be our features. And so we're looking for very, very much forward to that. Everybody, please be safe. And we'll see you soon. And if you come by the Oceanside Library in the next few days, if you want to write a poem on a wall, you knock yourselves out. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye now.
Thanks,
Good night.
Tony.
Thank you.